Tom, one of the big things about being at a trade show is just the simple fact that there's so much technology, so many gadgets, so many different things, both new and old, that do so much for customers. One of the big things that Orion Entry Control does is work at protecting, controlling the entrance and the area around the entrance. When we first met with you guys years ago, you did, call it simple things, turnstiles that were electronic, protected, bypassing people not getting into areas. But since then, you guys have come out with a lot of different technology that's way outside of a turnstile, which certainly is not a simple product, but lots of new things that relate to entry protection that are outside of being a barrier.
Yep, that's correct, Steve. We're still very focused on entry control, and that's from the perimeter with full height type turnstiles into your lobbies, and then into interior doors or egress doors, knowing that an authorized personnel is in the right place, and detecting unauthorized. So, for instance, we've started with a lot of new sensor technology, and specifically LiDAR technology, like you see over the door here.
Okay.
And then we'll show you some radar technology that's very, very unique to the world as well. And that allows us to not only track and provide data to our end users that they can use, but help them detect if somebody is unauthorized in space. And that's really what Orion's been focused on for years.
Key terms, things like piggybacking and, again, loitering and things like that in areas. These newer technologies don't just say, here's a boundary, but we get outside of that boundary and give that heads up or that other information other than just somebody crossed this line or this threshold and goes from there.
That's right. And one of the key things that I should mention is that we've created a software over the years called Infinity that people know, and it really started out as a lane controller software for the turnstiles, but it has grown into a full RESTful API, which allows us to integrate to the access control systems, to the video systems, and provide, like I said, provide that data that people need. Gives us unlimited outputs, so we can deliver. That's all the way from the perimeter into the inside of the buildings.
Perfect. Yep.
Yep.
So this is the LiDAR product, and you can see, why don't you describe what's on the screen there?
Yeah, what you see, with LiDAR, without getting too, LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging, and it's similar to radar, radio detection and ranging, but with LiDAR, you can see that it's light bouncing off of things, and you get a much more rich image than you do with radar. So, for instance, it's noticing us, and it's tracking us, and it's tagged us so that we're monitoring, and we're going to keep an eye on us until we do something through this door, which is an access control door. You can see that the sensor's mounted above the door. Okay. And by having that overhead view, as opposed to something that's mounted on the door frames, it gives us a lot of decision-making capability and much more accurate, less false alarms, which are costly to the user if they have to investigate those alarms. And so that was one of the real big things that we wanted to solve for, was that we weren't inadvertently alarming.
Coming from a simple turnstile, this is a big deal and a big step.
But DoorGuard it's unique to the world. There is no other product in the world like this.
See LiDAR out there, but not used for this specific purpose.
That's right.
So.
Yep. Yes.
So again, why don't we go down and take a look at the other product?
And then, so now I really just want to show you something that I think is another very, very unique thing to the world. It's called ultra-wideband radar. And radar's ultra-wideband's out there and being used. It's out there and being used, but we're using it in some unique ways for presence detection, both presence and proximity. So because the technology detects micro motion, so I'm talking about the motion down to the vibration that your heart makes in your chest and your respiratory rate, we can detect if someone's in a space. And we can also detect if someone gets close. So what we've done, and I'll just show you, is we've placed a sensor here behind this piece of artwork. So you can see that it's in alarm. We actually had an alarm here overhead, but it's programmable so that you can set a range out to about 30 feet, and then you can have proximity. As you get closer, we can give a soft alarm and then go into a full alarm if someone were to touch this artist. So this is kind of a museum application that we're looking at now, where they want to protect from an artifact being touched. But I like to say that it's a motion sensor that can't be spoofed. So if you're alive, if you're hiding in a space, it doesn't take large body motions to detect.
And if I'm correct, this works not only in this forward-facing application, but also in a ceiling facing down, which gives you a little bit better of a spread out area to cover the volume of an entire room.
That's right. That's right. That a sensor can actually handle about 650 square feet. There's different types of sensors. The family of sensors is called Constellation, and the sensors themselves we call stars. So you place the stars
Sure.
where you need them to go. Multiple applications across verticals. So it's really interesting to go talk to people because we understand the technology, but not all their business problems.
Sure.
And it really solves a lot.
Yeah, we've talked to a lot of customers about this, and again, that occupancy detection, when left behind, somebody stays behind when they're not supposed to be there.
Right.
Are they actually alive in a space that, you can't really see what's going on in a space remotely? It gives us a lot of visibility into those problems and solving those sort of problems for not just simple security thing, but even life safety stuff that is a little bit outside of the norm for what we do.
That's right, and another piece is that there's no camera component to it, so it's completely private. So places where are your gray areas or areas where it's not ethical to put a camera, you can use these single-use bathrooms, locker rooms, other places like that. And it also, there's no bias in a sensor.
Sure.
It doesn't know who you are; it just knows that you're there.
Yep.
So there's been a lot of applications for it.
Interesting. Well, I really appreciate your time and explaining both these new things that add to Orion's portfolio of that entrance control and whether, again, like you said, at the perimeter or at that demarc line inside. So thank you very much for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Steve.